It's time for one final check-in with my Mariah Book Club. Hey kids, Treacle here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm having a final catch-up with the Book Club boys, Nayth, Taz and Dimitri. Welcome back to Book Club, one final time boys. Lovely to see everyone. Let's check in with everybody. Nayth, how are you?
Living the dream.
Dimitri, how are things over there?
Fabulous as ever.
Appreciate you joining us. It's always morning for you when we do this, bless you. And Taz, how are you?
I'm buzzing.
Definitely not morning for us. Evening splashes are currently underway. Good for you.
I need to invest into some Baileys or something to put in here because I always have coffee during these things.
Yeah, make your breakfast festive. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
We have gone all the way through the memoir, 4 videos covering 4 sections. And I just wanted to get together one last time because I'm not quite ready to let go of Book Club just yet. I've really enjoyed it. So I just wanted to get us all together and just kind of reflect on the whole thing, really. But one thing we kind of talked about it at various points throughout, but I just want to spend a quick minute really addressing the fact that Mariah didn't just give us the written word, she gave us the spoken word, the sung word in the incredible audio version with Audible. Nayth, I want to hear from you first because if I remember correctly, you were reading and listening at the same time. So tell us how that experience was.
I'll try and condense it down to like a couple of sentences because you know I love a tangent. But I really enjoyed it. It was nice to be able to read as well as listen, and you feel more of the emotion. Like she touches on some really like unsettling experiences in her life, and like it adds another depth to it when you hear like her voice break, or you can hear like the crack in her voice while she's speaking about like her father passing away and things. So it was it added like another veneer to the experience.
Definitely. I remember there were some parts in the book where because I read it first and then I listened. And when I was reading it, I'm like, oh, is this tongue in cheek or is she being really like straight? Or it reads angry, but is it like, kind of like jokey, angry? I'm trying to imagine her speaking it and then I'm kind of regretting not doing it your way. I thought I'll get to soak it in twice, but it really is a different experience listening to it. And you mentioned her father passing away, and that's the bit that really got me because it's an emotional chapter anyway. We all experienced that when we read it, but then hearing her speak some of her final conversation with her father and her voice breaks, that just sent me. That was it. I was in tears on my sofa.
One minute I was crying, the next I was laughing, and like my mum is always saying like don't ever don't ever have arguments over text because it always gets misconstrued. Like you never know what tone of voice it is, and it's the same with books. But because you had like her saying it to you, like the part where she speaks about Firecracker, and she's like, "I'm real." Like anybody would have just read it like, "I'm real," whereas she was like, "I'm real," and I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
It did add another whole level. When the book was originally announced, I think there was a bit of a gap between the book being announced and the audio version being announced, like the Audible deal. I think it was rumored for a little bit. Dimitri, were you surprised that she was doing an audio version, or did you just think, well, if she's writing a book, of course we're going to get an audiobook as well?
I mean, of course I had hopes because we all do, but I didn't think we would get it. And then when it became rumored, then of course, like my hopes grew even more. And then when she announced it, I was like, wow, we're about to have Mariah Carey read over 300 pages and obviously sing along. So yeah, I was really excited for it.
I think her choice to read some of the lyrics versus sing some of them, that is really interesting because I think she kind of said in one interview she's making that decision as she was going through, oh, am I going to speak these? How much do I want to put in? Am I going to sing this? And she's really weaving the lyrics into her story. And I think it just really connects all the dots for us. She's been giving us her story, her life story through her music all the time, but not everyone gets that. We get that. We know which songs to look for certain things. But I think the audiobook is really kind of smacking people with it in the face a little bit. I'm just wondering how she feels about that, you know, the fact she's really making it obvious for everyone. This song is about this moment. Look, here's the paragraphs, and I'm going to sing you a couple of lines. She's really putting it in people's faces.
Because there were certain songs, even like Petals, which I had another, like for years, it meant something else to me. But I think the book, you know, changed my mind about who that might have been about. So I suppose like that, she speaks about things and then you get the lyrics. So then that just literally, when you re-listen to some of the songs even now, like they have it, even I was listening to Side Effects the other day, like, and it's like post the book, like this just song hits you in a different way now. Even though you kind of got the message back then, it really hammers home. You know, so I suppose reading and hearing the book, you know, you really got a sense of what even though we don't really get a sense, because obviously she did that for years, we're only getting it, you know, by a couple of pages. And I tried to take my time with the book and not rush through it, but still, we can all try to imagine. But like when you're years in that situation, you're hearing those songs now, and after reading the book, I think you get a better sense of what she actually endured in her life, you know, from childhood all the way through.
I have a memoir playlist now, you know, so you hear a song, you put it in the playlist, you hear the song, you put it in the playlist. Oh yeah, Nayth, yeah, I've had my memoir music playlist for a while now.
Wait, what? So which songs are on it?
Anything that she sings, everything she sings in the book, but even if there's a song where she doesn't give us, like, you know, an actual sung bit, she just quotes it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking all those songs because I wanted to do that for my friends who are not lambs, because they say, she sang a little bit of that song, or I read these lyrics, and I'm like, I'm collecting them for you, don't worry, I've got a playlist. And I'm experiencing them in like a different way. We've listened to these songs so many times. Looking in, Petals, Can't Take That Away, Close My Eyes, everything, you know, we live them. The Roof, we know all of them. But I'm co-signing on what you just said, Taz, because how often do you get like a new experience with a song you've been listening to for so long? But I'm finding when I do go back to these songs post read, after reading the memoir, they hit differently. They really do hit differently.
With this audiobook, you kind of get like a second chance to have a first impression. Like the whole thing about the roof, I was like, oh, it's just like sunlight. She's had an idea for a song. She was like stood on a roof and she was like, oh, I'm gonna write a song called The Roof. But I didn't realize just quite how autobiographical that song is, and like those events actually happened.
It wasn't just a random night with a random, you know, fling that she enjoyed that night. It was like one of those, this is a huge impact and like a shift in her life. So that song's very...
She had some guts writing that song at the time she did.
Now that we have completed the book and we've completed our book club, what I want to know is how you feel afterwards. Like, do you feel differently about Mariah? Do you feel closer to her? Do you think the book was a good thing that she went through? You know, just anything, any kind of thoughts or feelings it's left you with?
I feel even more loved by Mariah. Like, I love how just throughout the entire book, she just kept making it a point to like really talk about what her fans actually really mean to her. You know, it wasn't like let me drop this in the book quickly, you know, not saying or pointing any fingers to specific artists, but like, you know, some artists may just, I have to do this little fan bit because, you know, you have to always do the fan bit. For Mariah, it was really like, no, this is my family. Like it always was like, and most importantly, it just felt so genuine. And I was like, oh, this is about me. This is about me.
Yeah, like Dimitri said, you know, you really get a sense that at times the fans for her got her through really tough moments in her life. I guess for me, you know, it obviously makes us closer as fans. You know, you love Mariah with pre-book, you know, you have her here, but like after that you have her on even, if it's possible, a higher pedestal. Like she's just it, because we get a better sense of what she's endured. But I think even still, she let us in, and she didn't have to let us anybody in. It's her story. She could have kept that, but she could have chosen to never have released the book if she wanted.
I love reading, and I've always said I really, really want Mariah to release the book. But I didn't want her to go in and tell us all, like, expose everything. Like, this is what happened here, this is what happened there, because she's still human. She still needs her privacy. But I'm glad that there are some things that I wish she'd kind of like expose people, like water, and things. But it's not, no biggie. It's obviously not. He's obviously not that big of a deal to her. So
I agree with all of you. I feel closer to her. Dimitri, I love the way you worded it, like you feel like more loved by her, because you did get that. You're like, oh, she's talking to me. She's talking to all of us.
Mhm.
Like there were definitely those moments. And Taz, yeah, there's definitely things that she's saved for herself. And she sometimes does that in interviews as well. And she acknowledges, I have to keep some things, for myself. And absolutely, because yeah, we're all human, and she shouldn't have to give us absolutely everything. And she didn't owe us anything. Like Taz said, she didn't have to give us this book. She gave us so much. And yeah, we do know of instances and people that weren't covered in the book, but that's her prerogative. It's her book that she chose to write. She's under no obligation to anyone to give us certain names and topics and whatever. I'm very grateful with what we got. I'm very satisfied. And if she chooses to do more books or audiobooks in the future, then I think she's given herself a really great foundation with this one. It was really well received, and we all seem to be very happy, us and the collective Lamely. So yeah, let's have some more from Mariah. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. We just need to make it our goal to make non-lambs or like more people read this book, because I feel like this is a really good read. And when people think of Mariah, they think of like, the diva and all of the things that the media paints. So I think those people have this whole idea of what this book is about or what they're going to get from this book. But it's like, I promise you, that's not what you're going to get from this book. You're going to get a real story.
I think when we think back when Mariah veered off music to do like the movie, that got critically panned and was like a fail, even though it sold millions of copies, the soundtrack, and it just didn't go where Mariah Carey normally went in terms of sales and all the rest. So I think going off course again to write a book, it was another kind of it could have it could have panned as well. It could have been like in the dollar store 2 weeks later because nobody's buying it. It's a risk because she's not known for writing as books or whatever. So I think it was a big decision for her to take that on. So fair play to her for doing that. And obviously the more people that read it, as Dimitri says, like it's not what you're going to expect. It's not going to be like, oh, they didn't have my 20 dogs and my puppies on the red carpet, so I decided not to show up. It's literally her life, told in a real honest way. So fair play to her for doing it, and fair play to her for the book becoming a huge success. She can be proud of it now. We can be proud of it.
I don't think that any like other locals are going to read it. Like I can't imagine like one of my friends reading it. Like I'm jealous of you, Matt, because you're like, oh yeah, my friends are reading it, and I'm like, what I would give for my friends to read it.
I've had people that have been mildly interested. I'm like, oh, I'll send you a copy. What's your address? And then so I've done that to a few friends, and then I've had a couple of friends where absolutely I knew they were going to read it, and that does mean a lot to me that they do that.
Reading a book is quite like an investment and time consuming. So I think that's another factor why locals won't be reading it.
Which is why they need to turn this into some sort of film biopic, series, because people will be more, obviously, they'll be like, oh, Mariah Carey on whatever streaming service, it'll be an easy click. And then they'll be like, wait a minute, what? And then I think that'll also open people's eyes too.
This is true.
But I don't want it to be a movie. I want it to be a TV series.
Same TV series.
This is it. This is what I want to talk about next. So Dimitri has segued us beautifully into my final topic for us to discuss, really, which is the next steps. I do think a book, as Nayth, you say, is a bit of that's a big ask, and I am very interested that friends of mine have been keen to read it, and I love catching up with them once they have. But something for TV or film, whatever it's going to be, that's going to be more accessible to a lot of people, and maybe a lot more people will find their way to the original word, to the book, by way of a biopic or something. So I want to pick your brains and collect your thoughts. Mariah has started to speak about having conversations with people about some kind of adaptation. What are your thoughts, concerns? What would you like to see? What are you maybe worried about, you don't want to see?
I'd be more worried about it if it went onto a platform that wasn't highly accessible. So I think one of the heavy hitters, like either a YouTube free series or like maybe even Netflix. I don't want to find out that it's on some like small, I'm not going to mention names, but
like Hobo,
these kind of networks. and maybe that not accessible to international audiences as well.
I would like it to be on a platform that like reaches people that didn't see any of the promotion or anything. You know, it's like Netflix. They're just scrolling. It's like, oh wait, there's a Mariah Carey documentary. What? Click on it. Oh wait, this is actually a huge thing. You know, versus like people are not gonna like go download or like something you have to sign up for, like stars, like exclusive stars. You have to start your free trial and then pay. Like, I think she should just make it accessible to
We're saying it here now, Mariah. Netflix, Henny.
Netflix.
I think Netflix would be good. Netflix would be good. It's such a big platform and they've got serious budget. I mean, people moaned about Apple TV Plus for the Christmas special because not as many people have it, but Apple TV is pretty big and they've got a lot of big names and things on there. I was already on Apple TV, so I was happy. I don't know whether it would tie in with that or whether she would go somewhere else. Personally, I think just Netflix seems to be the beast. So I think that would be amazing. I'm hoping for a series over a movie. Nayth?
100%. I don't want a movie where it's like an hour and a half. I want a good hour per episode. Like, really go ham on that thing. Maybe it's gonna be on Apple TV. Maybe with the Christmas special, there was like a contract, like you are contractually obligated to do 3 things with us.
I don't know how the contract works, but maybe certainly Apple have got like first refusal or something. Maybe they can look at what she's developing.
Maybe if it was like an extended movie, or maybe, you know, I don't know if you get that whole story over across in an hour and a half or 2 hours, but if that could happen, yeah, I don't mind a movie. And I think she has a good working relationship with Lee Daniels, and I think he really could be sensitive to her opinion and really take on board and take a lot of her input on board as well.
I hope that Mariah isn't really too hung up on, oh, it has to be a movie. I hope that she's open to really understanding the power of TV these days. And I think a series would really do the story justice because so much of it is little Mariah's story. And in my head, season 1 is Wayward Child. You know, and well, not Wayward Child. I'd actually have it as like Mariah as a teenager, like trying to juggle the recording after school, rushing to school, being like, but there's like flashbacks, especially with scenes of her family. So we get to see little Mariah, but she's all about recording her demo. Season 1 ends with like the meeting of Tommy, the demo tape, it's that kind of thing. And you're like, oh, well, we know where this is going. Season 2 would be the early years of the career, and then it just go, you know, like that. That's how I would have it. I would have us meet Mariah around 16, 17.
The things that I don't like about a movie adaptation of a book is that so much is left out. Like, I remember reading Jane Eyre and then watching a film about it, and I'm like, no, that's not what happened in the book. Whereas when you watch a TV series on like Oliver Twist or something, it's like the majority of it's like they've got more space to put things into instead of condensing like a whole book into like a 90-minute body of work.
I don't think a movie would be able to cover the whole story. I think they'd have to kind of zoom in and pick a bit. Is it the early years of the career separating from Tommy, or is it her coming out of adolescence into young adulthood and becoming the 20-year-old Mariah Carey that we met? A series, I think, could cover things. And in my head, it needs to be multiple seasons, not even just one season.
I think that little Mariah needs to have her justice. I think it would be an injustice to go only these certain aspects of your life, your early life, are more valuable over this part of your life. Like, it needs to be everything that's in the book.
I feel like she could like have a little girl play Mariah up to age 12, then Mariah can just take over from there on the series because she's 12. So.
One thing I'm a little bit nervous about is Mariah almost maybe being a bit too close to the project. There's good and bad because she's there for like quality control, but also then we know what a perfectionist she is. Like I'm really interested to see. I think because she trusts Lee Daniels, I think that's key. Like, she trusted Michaela to write the book and tell the story, and she trusts Lee. So I think maybe he is the right person, because I'd hate for her to be too close and too worried about how things are looking or sounded like. Just, you need to let that person who's really good at what they do in their domain really, really
So
do
would
it.
you so would you say that Mariah shouldn't play current Mariah?
I would not have Mariah play herself at all. No.
Really?
I don't think it should even go to like current Mariah. I think once she gets to like in the memoir, once she got to emancipation, then it's like, and then we know what happened. I had albums and I had kids and blah blah blah. I think that the heart, the story of who she is little Mariah, and all the struggles that she went through in the early part of her career. So I think in a biopic, I wouldn't need to see her represented, maybe not even past the age of 30 on film. I'm really keen to see the early part of the book brought to life. So I don't envision it going all the way through to like modern day and having Mariah on screen. But what do you guys think? Nayth, would you see it going all the way through then?
I would say Mariah should play like the Emancipation season.
I could see it, straight hair, bring back the long hair. I could see it.
I would love for people to take the book seriously as a book, because it is, and we've had that discussion. I would love for people to take the adaptation seriously as well, and all they're going to do is point at Mariah. Oh my god, so egotistical. Of course she won't let anyone play adult her, she has to do it. And look, she's trying to pass herself off as 20 years young. I think she's just setting herself up for that criticism. I think she should be there as like a co-executive producer to make sure it's staying truthful, to what happened. But I don't think she has any business playing herself in it. And maybe that sounds harsh to people watching, I don't know, but I think she should be behind the camera and in control somewhat that way.
I actually think if there were, like, I'm just thinking out loud how to myself there, like, if she was to do this like series thing, I think a good way to come in is because people love Mariah, the celebrity, and they made zone out as her childhood story, even though it is compelling. I think, if she started out maybe at the stage where she's trying to make the demo and she's with Brenda, but when certain things happen that she thinks back to her childhood. So, for example, if she's not dancing, it flashes back to her grandmother. Like it kind of starts off as Mariah about to enter the scene, kind of showing her rise to stardom, but flashing back to. I think that'd be a good concept to keep people interested.
I think that's the way to do it, because it makes it more accessible. When people tune in, I think we need them to see, this really skinny, curly head, jeans, black top, like, oh yeah, I'm getting Vision of Love vibes. Yeah, the actress they cast, she kind of does look like I remember Vision of Love Mariah. They need to have that accessibility. And if we have like a whole season or the first few episodes of it being about a child, it's not really going to, is it worth the payoff? Is the payoff going to be worth it at the end? I think your idea, Taz, is kind of what I envisaged. Like, let's meet a young Mariah, young adult Mariah, and then go to like flashbacks when we need to. If we get a series, I want everything. I want, behind the scenes. I want some like teasers in the build up. You get the whole announcement of the cast and who's playing different people and just how much of a role Mariah is taking in the production and stuff. So it's not like it's just going to appear on our TVs one day without any news. We would get, a little bit of a preamble and like a peek inside maybe. I'm surprised that she's talking about it so openly so soon. The book really hasn't been on, on our shelves for that long. I thought it would be a couple of years at least, but I'm so excited, super happy that she's talking about adaptation as early as, well, she started talking about it end of last year.
I think Lee tweeted her and was like, we need to get this into a series or movie or something. Then she was like, yeah, let's get on it or whatever. So I think he gave himself the job, so.
Yeah. I'll do it. I nominate myself.
Do you think you would work on the adaptation and music at the same time, or do you think that this would push music back, or that it would be pushed back because of an album?
Good question. I guess it comes down to timelines. I don't know which I would prefer. I don't want either to be rushed. I think she can work on both. I think she can, because she's got to work in tandem with Lee and a lot of other people to get that going forward. Whereas she can always be writing, she can always be working on music and getting things started. But ultimately, whichever one's going to be ready first, it's like, oh, okay, the music has to pause because we're filming, you know, or maybe filming. Are you not going to be ready for 6 months? I can push this album through to completion within the next 6 months. I think at one point something has to give. I'll take either. She's going to be working on one or both. She's not one to sit around and do nothing.
Excited for the film, and I'm excited for the next album we get. But I'm like, which one do I want first?
I know she's spoken about an adaptation, but I don't think I don't know. I don't think it'll ever come to that point.
I think while COVID is happening, I think I'd prefer if she focus on the album because she doesn't have to go anywhere. She has her own little studio. She can focus on the music. I think I'd like this to happen post-COVID, where she can be really hands-on, as opposed to being like maybe Zoom calls and trying to be on phone calls to make the movie. You know, I think she'd be better off maybe beside Lee as it's all happening and it's in production. That takes 3 or 4 years, you know, so be it. I'd rather wait for her to be more, you know, to have her vision be true to herself.
Album 16, adaptation, album 17. All right, that's what we're going with.
Let's just tell her. Let's just tell her that's the way it's happening. That is the end of today's bonus episode of Book Club, and that definitely is the end of our little book club series here on my channel. I want to thank each of you for being a part of this book club. I've really enjoyed these sessions, and thanks so much for being a part of it.
I am blown away. It's everything I've wanted, you know, and it was refreshing to hear some of the stories we've heard before, but she'd fleshed them out a bit, and other stories we'd never heard before. Some were groundbreaking, and I love her more than I ever thought I could. I thought I couldn't love her even more, but I do, and she's amazing.
Thank you, Nayth, for bringing all of your insight and everything to the book club. It's been really fun chatting with you about it each time. So yeah, book club wouldn't have been the same without you.
This is probably hands down my favorite Mariah Carey project ever, just because we got so much, you know, in one release. We got so much. We got songs in this book. We got it all. Audiobook, you know, we're gonna get some sort of adaptation, which I'm looking forward to. And I just feel like the very end when she says, this like sums up how the whole book has left me feeling, which is inspired to live like in my truth, seeing her struggles, seeing what she accomplished, and just knowing that the person who's like helped me throughout my entire life has gone through all of this and looks at her fans as her strength, and we look at her as our strength. And it's just left me feeling really inspired, because the person that means, and it's probably safe to say, like one of the people that mean the most to me, have given me their truth, and it's helped me to be ready to live mine. And I'm inspired, and I love it.
So yeah, I'm delighted she done the book. I mean, we all knew that she struggled a little bit through her life, and that she's often referenced, you know, she's not Cinderella, her life has not been a fairy tale. But I suppose just get it in black and white on print, the struggles she's gone through in life, it's bridged us closer to Mariah. And you know, I think even things like just that from her whole career, like a lot of things make way more sense now, you know. So it's like, it's not that she's, you know, being difficult, or, you know, she has maybe trust issues, she has reasons why she doesn't dance. It just wasn't because she didn't want to invest time in dancing. Everything roots back to either her childhood or an event in her life. And as the guys have said, like, it makes you love her more now, you know, because we understand her more, I guess. You know, we just understand where she's coming from. And she, like, as she says, she's real, you know. So like, she plays often the character of a diva, but if you sit down and listen to her story, like, she has struggles like you, I, and the rest of us. Like, her life isn't plain sailing. She literally goes day by day like the rest of us, and has issues like everybody else.
Thank you for being part of Book Club. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you on social media.
Goodbye. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been great to obsess over something that I obsess about and not be judged for it. So thank you.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to all the episodes. Big thanks to Matt for editing everything, because it was easy for us guys just to talk. Matt has a lot of work in the behind the scenes. So I just want to say a quick thank you for that, and thank you for everyone that's tuned in. Hopefully we can discuss the next Mariah Carey project. Hopefully it is the adaptation or maybe her next album. We know we will be back. This is the book club. We're not going anywhere.
We'll be back. Thank you, Matt, for having us. This was a joy. We sat here and had great conversations, and for reals, thank you, Matt, for putting this together. I really enjoyed it, and thank you everybody who tuned in to watch us obsess over this amazing, amazing book.
It's been loads of fun. It's been like a safe space to really geek out. And you guys are all friends of the channel. You all have your own Hey Lamb episodes as well. Nayth and I have been playing quizzes, and I've been throwing ideas around with Dimitri. I'm sure, Taz, I'll get you back on the channel in other ways as well. So yeah, you guys will be popping back up on my channel for sure. So until next time.